How can the Amish's seemingly simple egg preservation techniques, such as dry storage and lime water soaking, challenge our modern reliance on refrigeration and convenience foods? What surprising benefits do preserved eggs offer in terms of flavor and safety? And how might they change our perception of freshness in food? In what ways can embracing traditional preservation methods, like those practiced by the Amish, foster a sense of community and sustainability in our own kitchens? When you're planning on storing something for years, not days or weeks, you need to ensure you're starting with the best possible product. A bad egg won't just ruin the dozen, it'll make you seriously question your life choices after you crack it open a decade later. No one wants that level of regret, especially not the Amish, who are all about doing things right the first time. And don't think this pickiness only happens once. The Amish regularly check their preserved eggs over the months and even years they're stored away. Any sign of a bad egg, and it's out. I guess in this case, the Amish motto could be, "No bad eggs left behind." But maybe that's just my version of it. When it comes to egg preservation, the Amish have a few tricks up their sleeves that might seem downright unconventional. One of the simplest yet most effective methods they use is dry storage. That's right. No fancy techniques, no complicated recipes, just good old-fashioned, cool, dry places where eggs can sit and chill like they're on vacation. You might even say they're putting their eggs in a time capsule, but without the awkwardness of deciding what to put in there alongside those eggs. This method is all about using the natural environment to your advantage. In many Amish homes, you'll find specially designed areas perfect for food preservation. These spaces are often cooler and more humid than your average kitchen, which creates an ideal environment for keeping eggs fresh without needing to crank up the fridge. It's kind of like that pantry you keep forgetting about, where the canned beans hide and grow old. Except this time, the eggs come out perfectly fine after a year or two. Just imagine finding a stash of eggs tucked away like a secret treasure. Instead of gold doubloons, you get breakfast. Now you might be wondering how they manage to make eggs last without any special treatment. Well, think about it. Eggs have their own natural protective barriers. The shells are sturdy and do a great job of keeping the bad stuff out as long as you don't go cracking them open too soon. The Amish just let the eggs do their thing in a cool, dry place, like putting them in a gentle timeout. No stress, no pressure, just waiting for the right moment to be cracked and scrambled. Interestingly enough, this method also highlights how many modern conveniences we take for granted. We live in a world where refrigeration is expected, and if our leftovers sit out for too long, we panic. But the Amish have shown that sometimes it's simpler than that. Think about the way we often shove things in the fridge only to forget about them until they're well past their prime. Ever found that old container of spaghetti lurking in the back? You're practically feeding a new life form at that point. On a personal note, I've definitely had my fair share of fridge disasters, like that one time I found a forgotten carton of eggs shoved in the back corner, so old they could have been part of a historical exhibit. But the Amish have mastered the art of not letting food go to waste by relying on their simple techniques. Instead, they trust their instincts and the natural processes, which means no more worrying about mold or weird smells. Another interesting tidbit: in a typical Amish household, eggs aren't just for breakfast. They're a key ingredient in baking, making their longevity all the more important. Imagine whipping up a batch of cookies with eggs that have been preserved for years. Now that's a testament to their skills. And the best part? If you store eggs correctly, you might just find they taste better than anything you can pick up at the grocery store. The beauty of dry storage is that it connects the Amish to the land and their traditions. They know what works for them, and they stick to it. No need for fancy appliances or modern gadgets, just the basics of nature and a little bit of patience. Patience, it's a refreshing approach that we could all learn from, especially in our fast-paced lives where we often overlook the value of simplicity. Now, let's tackle the elephant in the room. Are these preserved eggs really safe to eat? I mean, who wouldn't be skeptical when thinking about cracking open something that's been hanging around for years? It's a valid concern and one that deserves a hearty discussion, especially if you've ever had that moment of dread when you crack an egg and the smell knocks you back. But fear not. The Amish have been doing this for generations, and they seem to know a thing or two about keeping their food safe. To begin with, the key to egg preservation lies in how the eggs are treated and stored. When done right, these methods can keep eggs fresh for a long time. The Amish have been utilizing techniques like lime water soaking, oiling, and dry storage, which not only keep the eggs intact, but also reduce the chances of any nasty surprises when it's time to cook. Imagine having a stash of eggs ready for a baking marathon, and the only thing you have to worry about is whether or not you have enough chocolate chips. You might be surprised to know that the very process of preserving eggs can actually enhance their safety. Fresh eggs have a protective coating that helps prevent bacteria from getting in. Once that coating is washed off, the clock starts ticking. But when preserved properly, the eggs maintain that barrier and can outlast anything you'd find in the grocery store. If you've ever found yourself standing in the egg aisle, you know that even the freshest-looking eggs can be tricky. The shiny, perfectly packaged ones often have a backstory that would make you think twice. Spoiler alert, they're already a few weeks old by the time they hit your cart. Now, here's a fun little anecdote. I once had a friend who tried a preserved egg for the first time. She was skeptical, wrinkling her nose as she cracked it open. But guess what? It was perfectly fine. No weird smells, no funky textures, just good old-fashioned egg. She became an instant fan, and now she swears by the idea of preserving her own eggs. It's funny how our perceptions can change once we experience something firsthand, isn't it? Speaking of experiences, let's talk about some stories from folks who have dabbled in preserved eggs for decades. Many have shared their delight at biting into an egg that had been sitting around for years, only to find it deliciously fresh. Some have even used preserved eggs in baking competitions. Yes, they're that confident. And the best part? Most of them report 0 trips to the doctor. If that's not a glowing endorsement, I don't know what is. But just because the Amish have been doing this forever doesn't mean it's a free-for-all. They know their eggs, and there are a few simple rules they follow to ensure safety first. Fresh eggs are the best candidates for preservation. They'll inspect each one like it's a rare gem. If it has any cracks or unusual spots, it doesn't make the cut. If you ever see an Amish farmer at work, you might catch them giving their eggs the same kind of attention you'd give a delicate piece of art. And when it comes to eating those preserved eggs, the most important rule is to trust your senses. Before you dive into that 15-year-old egg, remember the water test. If it floats, it's a no-go. A sinking egg? You're golden. It's a simple, effective way to weed out any troublemakers before they reach your skillet. Now that we've explored the safety of preserved eggs, let's roll up our sleeves and dive into the fun part: how you can join the ranks of egg-preserving enthusiasts yourself. You might be thinking, do I need a secret Amish society password to get started? No, just a bit of determination and some basic supplies, and you're on your way to becoming the egg guru of your kitchen. First things first, let's talk about supplies. You'll want fresh, unwashed eggs, preferably straight from a local farm. If you can find some from free-range chickens, even better. Fresh eggs have that magical protective coating we mentioned earlier, which is crucial for successful preservation. And here's a tip: when you buy eggs, don't be shy. Check them for cracks and imperfections. No one wants a spoiled surprise when it's time to whip up an omelet. Once you've secured your fresh eggs, it's time to choose your preservation method. Let's start with the lime water technique, as it's one of the simplest. All you need is food-grade lime, calcium hydroxide, and water. Mix about 1 ounce of lime into a quart of water until it dissolves. Now here comes the fun part. Soak those eggs. Place them gently in a container and pour the lime water mixture over them, making sure they're fully submerged. It's like giving your eggs a little spa day. Now if you're feeling fancy and want to try your hand at oiling, grab some mineral oil. You can find it at most drugstores or online. The process is straightforward. Take a paper towel, dab it in the oil, and rub it over the surface of each egg. This step helps block out air and keep bacteria at bay. Your eggs will appreciate the extra love. They're practically getting a luxurious treatment. If vinegar tickles your fancy, you can dip your eggs in a vinegar solution. Just mix equal parts vinegar and water and give those eggs a quick dip. It's a simple process that requires minimal effort but delivers maximum impact. And hey, if it works for pickles, why not for eggs, right? Storage is another critical factor. Once you've preserved your eggs using your chosen method, find a cool, dark, dry place to store them. Amish homes often have specially designed areas for food preservation, but you can use a basement, a cool cupboard, or even a pantry. The goal is to keep the eggs in a temperature-stable environment away from direct sunlight. No need for fancy gadgets here, just a little common sense, and you're good to go. Now, if you're feeling really adventurous, why not experiment with different preservation methods? Who says you can't mix and match? Try some eggs in lime water, some oiled, and some dipped in vinegar. This way, you can see which method you prefer, and you might even stumble upon a new family favorite. The key is to enjoy the process and learn as you go. Remember, even the Amish had to start somewhere, and they've perfected their techniques over generations of trial and error. Once you've decided on your preservation methods and stored your eggs, mark the dates clearly. You can use a simple label or a piece of tape to note when the eggs were preserved. This will help you keep track of their age and ensure you're rotating them effectively. The last thing you want is to forget about an egg for a couple of years, only to discover it when cleaning out the pantry. Trust me, that moment can be quite the surprise. As time goes by, check on your eggs periodically. The Amish are diligent about inspecting their preserved food, and you should be too. A quick visual check can help you catch any issues before they escalate. If you notice any unusual smells, discoloration, or anything else that seems off, it's better to err on the side of caution and discard those eggs. After all, you want to enjoy the fruits of your labor, not end up with a food poisoning nightmare. When the time comes to use your preserved eggs, don't hesitate. Whether you're whipping up a delicious frittata, baking a cake, or making a batch of cookies, go ahead and put those eggs to work. You might be amazed at how well they perform, even after being stored for months or years. Plus, there's something incredibly satisfying about knowing you've successfully preserved food and are now reaping the benefits of your efforts. If you're a fan of culinary experiments, try using your preserved eggs in different recipes. You might find that they add a unique flavor profile or texture to your dishes. For instance, consider making homemade pasta. The richness of the preserved eggs could elevate your pasta game to a whole new level. Or how about using them in an eggnog recipe? You might create a holiday drink that becomes a family tradition. The options are endless, and the creativity is all yours. Let's not forget the educational aspect of preserving eggs. By engaging in this process, you not only gain valuable culinary skills, but also connect with a tradition that has stood the test of time. Sharing this knowledge with family and friends can foster a sense of community and appreciation for simpler living. Hosting a little egg-preserving workshop might just become your new thing. It's a wonderful way to bond with loved ones while teaching them something useful and practical. Speaking of community, the Amish have a deep-rooted sense of togetherness. They often share resources, knowledge, and experiences with each other. By embracing the same spirit, you can cultivate connections in your own life through your egg preservation journey. Whether it's inviting neighbors over for a preservation session or swapping tips and tricks with friends, you'll find that this simple practice can bring people together. And let's not overlook the importance of sustainability. In an age where food waste is a significant concern, learning how to preserve food effectively is an invaluable skill. By embracing practices like egg preservation, you're taking a step toward reducing waste in your kitchen. Every egg you save is one less that ends up in the trash, contributing to a more sustainable food system. Plus, it's a great conversation starter when discussing eco-friendly practices with friends and family. In summary, egg preservation may seem like an old-fashioned practice, but it's bursting with modern-day relevance. From sustainability and food security to creativity and community building, the benefits are endless. With a few basic supplies, some patience, and a sprinkle of curiosity, you can embark on this rewarding journey just like the Amish have done for generations. So, as you stand in your kitchen, surrounded by a dozen fresh eggs, remember that you hold the key to preserving not just food, but also a cherished tradition. Dive into this project with enthusiasm and curiosity, and who knows where it might lead you. You might become the egg-preserving guru in your community, sharing the joys and benefits of this practice with others. Embrace the process, learn from your mistakes, and savor the delicious results of your hard work. The world of egg preservation awaits you. Let's get cracking, and don't forget to document your journey. Whether through photos, videos, or a simple journal, capturing your experiences can be a great way to reflect on your progress. You can look back and see how far you've come, celebrate your successes, and even laugh at the mishaps along the way. Plus, sharing your journey online could inspire others to join in on the fun. You might just find a community of fellow egg preservation enthusiasts who are eager to share tips and stories. To wrap it all up, the Amish way of preserving eggs is a beautiful reminder of how simple, time-honored techniques can yield fantastic results. So whether you're keeping it simple with dry storage, trying your hand at oiling, or dipping your eggs in vinegar, you're participating in a practice that has stood the test of time. You're not just preserving eggs, you're preserving a way of life, one that values sustainability, simplicity, and community. So go ahead, crack those eggs, and let the preservation adventure begin. You'll be amazed at what you can achieve when you embrace the art of egg preservation, turning your kitchen into a hub of creativity, sustainability, and delicious possibilities. Now roll up your sleeves, gather those eggs, and start your preservation journey. The egg-citing world of preserving awaits you. Enjoy every moment, and happy preserving.